grab some water. And just listen while you're hydrating. All right, so condescending order of factors influencing technique. All right, you go ahead, you get your water. I'm just gonna kind of go over this. So, if you ask me, Coach Jeff, why do you teach the way you teach, right? And it's not, I teach the same way to people that have Parkinson's disease and people that don't have Parkinson's disease, right? And that's because I've come up with an order that's like my principled way of figuring out what students need, because I can take a blanket approach to 10 different people, and the same approach will help me figure out how to tailor what they need based off of these factors, right? Because everybody's needs are a little bit different as a student. The first one is efficiency. Efficiency needs to be the number one coaching principle, coaching approach. It needs to be the foundation that everything you do in boxing comes off of. Because efficiency is the thing that makes every other skill you have or attribute as a fighter last longer. It's also efficiency in coaching. What I need to be able to identify the thing that I can teach you earliest so that you can practice it the longest and get the best at it, because it's the most foundational to the other things that you have to learn. The second is physiology and aptitude. And again, this isn't just for people that have diseases or have some kind of other issue. This is for everybody. Everybody's body's shaped a little bit differently. The thing is, though, we all have bones and muscles. So when you break it down as far as possible, the thing that you need to be able to understand is your body can only move certain ways, and there are more efficient and less efficient ways that will change based off of your own personal history of injuries, based off of your physiology itself, your physiomorphology, and your aptitude. I have to be able to figure out the simplest thing that I can teach you incrementally to help you put together a cogent whole of an understanding of a series of difficult, admittedly very difficult tasks. Limitations. This is kind of more appropriate for this group, because in this group we've got especially a varying degree of limitation that I have to be able to factor in. Last two are the strategic and tactical approaches and the fighting disposition. The strategic and tactical approaches are only secondary because I can't get your brain to understand any of this until you have a fundamental understanding of efficiency and like how your body's gonna operate and what your limitations are, whether they're physical or mental. Strategic and tactical approaches are always gonna be contingent upon your ability to employ this. And the fighting disposition is whatever your disposition is. You might be super aggressive, always moving forward, or you might be super like into running away on a bicycle and making somebody chase you. They're all valid approaches, but that's gonna be the last thing that informs how I coach you, because these things are all more important, because without these, this doesn't mean anything, right? And if I try to tailor everything off of this, now all of a sudden, who's being coached? I'm being coached, right? And that is an important distinction, because I'm gonna possess a knowledge body that the students don't possess. All right, very good. So, how is this relevant? I am gonna address the whys here. All right, so why do I focus on efficiency first? Who remembers? Bueller.
Well, we know what efficiency is. It's the least amount of effort to produce an action.
Exactly. So, if I teach you efficiency, and if I teach you efficiency efficiently, you're gonna learn the most in the shortest amount of time.
Right.
And if you do that with the most fundamental skill sets, that means I've given you the best foundation as fast as possible to stack other skills on top, thereby giving you the most time in whatever your time frame of training is. I'm giving you the most reps of the most important thing and doing it correctly so I don't have to undo things later. So that's why I do that. So adding efficiency improves every quality of every fighter. So every one of you, if I teach you efficiently, and if I teach you efficiency efficiently, you're gonna be able to improve every quality that you possess. Physiology affects efficiency more than any other factor, right? And that's because we're all shaped a little bit differently, but more importantly, we have a couple factors in common, which are we all have bones and we all have meat, and it's always more mechanically efficient to focus on hitting with your bones, right? And aptitude. Some people are more inclined to physical things, some people are more inclined to intellectual things, and some people are better or worse learners. That affects it too. However, limitations, right? Aptitudes affect receptivity. Some people cannot learn complex tasks well, and that's a limitation. Notice how I subordinate limitations to physiology though. Why do I do that? Because I'm a coach and a teacher and a mentor, I'm not here to focus on your limitations. You have professionals in other parts of your life that's their job. My job is to focus on this and this, thereby enabling these. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have doctors and physical therapists that focus on your limitations. I focus on enhancing the skills that you are in fact capable of. Physical and mental limitations are subordinate to strengths and capabilities, just cover that. A methodology can only be effectively established after the above. That's all these things are taken into consideration, and that's adding the art to the science. Art, and this is arguably the nature versus nurture. I still say it's part of the art. So, a fighter may not be naturally inclined to their best version of themselves as a fighter. So you have to polish all of the above enough to see the intersection of skills, abilities, weaknesses, and body and mental receptivity. And here we go. This is the most important factor of all of these, right? Receptivity is the most important fighter attribute. What does that mean?
That means we got to be willing to learn.
You have to be willing to learn. I don't care how good you are. If I can't teach you, don't show up, right? Will is more important than skill. So, on that note, hard turn. First combination, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to tie this all together for you after we start punching. All right, so what were the two combinations we just did?
1, 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, you did first, and then you did 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. All right. We're going to go over why we do these combinations and what's the difference between them. So, between those two combinations, which one do you think is more useful?
1, 1, 2, 3, 2.
Very good. Why?
The double jab start.
Double jab. You know what? You get the gold star for today. Very good. Now,
Everybody knows.
what's the importance of the double jab? What does the double jab do? All right, well.
2's pretty good. Distracts your opponent.
All right, distraction your opponent does that. What else does it do? All right, so the reason the 1-1, the double jab is so important is because it's the minimum possible investment of effort for the highest yield of what we call reconnaissance by fire, right? So that means you probe the enemy and you see how they react. It requires the least energy to just throw 2 jabs. And because the 2 jabs come out in the fastest, rapid succession of any combination of punches, it forces them to react quickly. So it gives you a good indicator of what their natural inclination is for the defense. So when somebody throws a good double jab, you're forced to do something. Now, you might think, oh, it's easy, just slip, slip. Slip doesn't work very well because on that second slip, you're slipping on the inside. When you're slipping on the inside, you're setting yourself up for the 2, which is the natural progression after the 1-1-2. So you have to either catch slip, you have to slip inside, roll out, you have to come out and then dive in. You can catch and then step in and put your shoulder into your opponent's shoulder so they can't get the 2 off, or if they do throw the 2, it goes behind you. Couple different ways you could address the 1-1-2, but that's why the 1-1-2 is so important. So this combination right here is what we call the bread and butter combination. Usually it's just 1-1-2-3, but a 1-1-2-3-2 provides you all the necessary tools to be able to determine, usually in the first round, what your opponent's defensive capacity and capabilities are. Make sense? All right. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to this combination that's going to make it even more effective? So what can we do?
Well, you can do movement.
All right, so you can augment it with movement, sure. What can we inherently change about one combination to make it feel like different combinations?
Not the bait, the whatever.
Starts with an R.
Rhythm, yes, thank you.
The rhythm, right? Syncopated. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Right? Just change the rhythm of how you're throwing it.
Yeah.
What else can you change to make it feel differently?
You change the height.
All right, good. You can go body, head, head, body. Good. What else can we change? There's one thing specifically that I'm looking for. Change the rhythm.
Change how hard.
Exactly. Change the hardest punch, or change how hard you throw every punch. A bad coach will tell you to throw all the punches as fast and as hard as you can. And sometimes you do that. Sometimes volume is very useful. However, a better coach is going to tell you to increase the power of each shot. The best coaches, though, are going to tell you every time you throw this combination, you throw it differently. Because if you throw 1, 1, 2, 3, 2 differently every time, because you change the rhythm, you change the angle, you change the range, you change which punch is the hardest. Like let's say you throw the 3 the hardest one time. Next time you throw it, it's this 2. Next time you throw it, it's this 2. Well, that feels like 2 different combinations, especially especially when you take that and you combine it with a varying rhythm. Now you've just taken this one combination and you've made 10 other combinations out of it. That is effective as a tactical approach supporting a strategy of attrition. So, we'll say change hardness. Sorry, I'm at a really weird writing angle. All right.
Yeah.
So there we go. So there's 4 simple ways to make more combinations out of one combination, right? And that's super important because you can make any bunch of combinations and you could try big, long combinations, but guess what? They invariably get interrupted by the opponent. It's fun to get on mitts and to throw 50 punch combinations, but those are unrealistic. They're choreographies that make people look good on camera. They are absolutely not effective ways to train fighting. Sure, you could get a little bit of speed timing, you can get a little bit of reaction timing, but like at the end of the day, you're not effectively working on the things that are going to make you the best, which is reaction timing that's like specifically designed to react to an immediate change in circumstances or to react to an immediate stimulus, which is why I like to do the drill where I just hold the mitt up for half a second, somebody hits it. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take this combination, go back on the bag, and I want you to throw it in as many different ways as you could possibly think of. All right? 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. And it doesn't have to be the full thing. You could throw 1, 1. You could throw 1, 2. You could throw 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. 2, 3, 2. Whatever. Just break it up into different combinations, but we're going to focus on 1, 1, 2, 3, 2 being the starting point. Make sense? All right. Go ahead. Time. All right. So what we addressed was how you could take one combination and turn it into many, right? And I wasn't even going to mess with you. I was just going to let you try to play with it. But that's the foundational kind of necessary information to understand the why so that I could teach you this. Call it the circle of skills. You guys know who Conor McGregor is?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Everybody knows Conor McGregor. So he's famous for this quote where it was like, speed defeats power and timing defeats speed. Well, that's only half the equation, right? Now, sure, there are other characteristics and skills that fighters have and whatever, but when it comes to like the different influencing factors of how you throw punches, kicks, headbutts, bites, elbows, knees, doesn't matter. These are the primary ones. So in fact, speed will defeat power. Timing will defeat speed. But rhythm will defeat timing because it's only half of the equation to understand somebody's timing. If you don't know how to interrupt that timing or to syncopate that timing, all of which are in the realm of rhythm, then you don't have a total or complete understanding of timing, right? So rhythm defeats timing. Volume defeats rhythm because if somebody's spending all of their time trying to figure out a rhythm and then you push forward and you have the endurance capacity to just continue throwing punches at them, guess what's going to happen? Ultimately, they become overwhelmed. And then that brings us back to the beginning, brings us back to dough, to power. Because if somebody's just trying to throw a bunch of punches and they have that natural taper of their power that comes along, if you come in and you drill them in the teeth, guess what's going to happen to them trying to throw all those punches? That's going to stop, right? So, a limited understanding of this is the cyclical one, right? At the end of the day, what you really want to do is you want to look at the thing that your opponent does better than you. Let's say your opponent's stronger than you. All right, you know speed's going to help. What else should I focus on to help with defeating power? Well, the nice thing is, if you focus on this is a good platform. And then I would say speed and volume, or speed and rhythm, or speed and good timing. Any one of those, if you can master two of them, are going to defeat that soundly. So then you just come up with a rank ordered understanding based off of your skills on how you want to defeat the power guy. If you want to defeat volume, all right, you're going to start with power and probably timing, or power and rhythm. Power and speed are good if you can combine them, but you have to have a very good understanding of how mechanical efficiency works in order for that to even be possible. So this is just kind of a little overview of what I call the circle of skills and how they impact each other. So that being said, now we're going to throw a combination of your choosing. You're going to give me 4 to 6 punches, and throughout the combination, I want you to focus on a different element of this while you're applying it. So what does that mean? If you throw a 6-punch combination and you want to work on volume, throw the combination as many times as you can. If you want to work on speed, throw it as fast as you can. If you want to work on power, throw it as hard as you can. If you want to work on rhythm, break it up. If you don't have a very good understanding of rhythm, then work on timing by throwing it at exactly the same tempo. Bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. Because the better you can fight to a metronome, which is what you use in music, like to click beats, if you can fight with good timing, then you can deliberately interrupt that timing. If you have bad timing because you don't have a good sense of timing, then you're not going to be doing this deliberately, right? And what we always want to do is focus on deliberation of whatever skill or activity we're doing. So, there you go. There's your marching orders, 4 to 6 punches. Work on one of these things. I'm going to come by and work with you each individually. Malcolm, which one were you working on?
I was trying to get to the point where I had some idea of timing. I could do critical timing.
Yep. Nope. That was very good. All right, Iris, what were you working on?
Well, I'm really kind of trying to work on all of them.
Okay. And I could tell that because sometimes you change the rhythm and sometimes you change the punch that you threw the hardest and sometimes you threw it as quickly as you could. So, all right, Kitty, which one are you working on?
I was working on all of them too.
All right, very good. So, because that's the case, I saw, Malcolm, you were also working on some of the other stuff too. But because I could tell that you guys were kind of working through them, we're just going to go over a list of a couple things that each one could do. Make sense? All right, so you got power, speed, timing. Oh, I got shirts for Combat Arts Academy that has "Does that make sense?" written on the back. Because apparently I say it like every 3 minutes. So, And volume. All right, so for power, here's some of the things that I have listed. There's my cat. All right. So, who wants to read that aloud?
Efficiency,
Yep, efficiency,
high amplitude,
high amplitude,
long range,
rotation,
rotation, hard first,
hard fist.
hard fist.
Yep, hard fist. So, efficiency always going to be the first key to really all of these things. If you're efficient, all these things get better, right? High amplitude means I want you to exaggerate the punch. I want you to pull it from behind you. I want you to exaggerate all those things that are parts of efficiency. Exaggerate all of them, right? Like just make the movements as big as possible, which in this cohort is more difficult, but is also more important. Long range, that means practice those long range hooks. You're not always going to throw long range hooks. Actually, I don't really advise against throwing long range hooks all the time. But we've covered this before. If you can do a thing at long range, it becomes a lot easier to be able to do it at short range because it scales down for learning purposes easier than it scales up. Rotation, this thing, right? It's one of the three central forces in boxing. Remember, you've got changing your elevation, you've got shifting your weight back and forth, and you've got rotation, right? So that hard fist just means when you get to the end of the punch, you're closing your fist, right? But so we've got rotation, we've got changing elevation, so that's lifting or dropping your weight. And then shifting your weight side to side. So, that's all the ones that you need for power. Move that. All right, for speed, what did we talk about a couple days ago when I was talking about throwing punches? What was the first thing that you had to do?
Had to be relaxed.
Relaxed. Excellent. I'm glad you remembered that.
Because I don't know how to be relaxed.
Yeah, right?
Stand in front of the bench.
So tension, especially static tension while you're trying to be fast, is counterproductive. If you're standing there like this and I can see all the veins bulging out of your arms, I know you're not relaxed. And that's not going to help you be fast at all, right? So being relaxed. The other thing is being fluid in your movement. Yeah, right? That's fluid movement. What else is there? Changing the amplitude of your punches. And that means if I have to get a little bit closer and throw my punches a little bit shallower, that's going to help me throw them faster. The other thing is changing when you throw the next punch. We'll just call that delivery.
It sounds like timing or delivery.
Well, so what you're going to see is every single one of these ties into every single other one, right? So the delivery. So while I'm here, instead of going through this whole motion, I can go, and then while this is still returning, I can use that as a means of pulling the next punch in. And then, lastly, for working on speed, you need to put sensible punches together. Throwing a 2 and then a 6, or a 2 and then an 8 is not going to be facilitated for speed. So, punch choice. Make sense? All right. Timing. I know timing is one of those ones that's a little bit more difficult. So, first thing is consistency. How do we do that? Choose a tempo and stick with it. Practice with a metronome. What else can you do for timing, you think?
once again, punch count. I mean, what punches you choose.
Exactly. Punch choice. Because if you're moving at that higher rate of speed, some punches are just not going to come out consistently. So it's good. That's why when we do our rhythm exercises or our timing exercises, we'll throw 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? The other thing that you could do is to practice changing the order of your 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we were doing what in percussion is called a paradiddle. So we were throwing right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Being able to make that sort of change and to make it even is one of those things that'll help you work on evening out all your punches, which will influence your tempo and your timing. All right, for rhythm, if you have a good sense of timing, then you can start to distort it, right? How do you do that? First and foremost is going to be punch choice, because that is one of those things where it's going to automatically influence how even my punches are coming out, and then you just exaggerate it. And that's often a key linchpin in making the transition from being consistent to breaking up a rhythm on purpose. Does that make sense? The next thing is start with simple combinations that allow you to be able to throw something real quick, and then you start changing the amplitude like you do over here. So then amplitude, then you start saying which ones do I want to throw faster, which ones do I throw slower. So once you make it so that you have the potential to make it consistent, that's how you create deliberation in distorting it. Does that make sense? All right, last one, volume. This, efficiency, is the first and foremost the key aspect. If you're efficient, then all these other things are going to last. And especially if you're a fast fighter and you have efficient punches, you're going to have efficient power even when you're fast. When you can maintain your cardio output, that's the surest thing that's going to help you throw volume. When you have good timing and speed, that's the other thing. It's going to give your opponent the least opportunity to be able to interrupt your throwing of that volume. So if you use speed and timing together with efficiency, you're going to be able to throw the best type of volume, which is one that is going to help you to fight somebody that has really good rhythm. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
All right, there we go. Now, I know understanding it and employing it are two different things, but, that's why we're here. So, very good work today. I know that was a lot of brainology instead of punching bags, but I think it's important we get these lessons. Because if you don't know why I'm teaching it, a good teacher is always going to give you the why. And their why is always going to be tied to a series of principles. And if it's not, then you really need to question the integrity of that teacher. Anyway, good work today. Have a good rest of your day.